Jose Mourinho has been enormously popular at Roma. He won a European trophy and came within a penalty kick of winning a second. Mourinho said that he's never felt as loved by a fan base as he did at Roma. But in January 2024, he was sacked. So what happened? Title. Mourinho got the news in the third week of training and was visibly upset when he left Roma's training ground. Fans who had gathered were also distressed. Many were in tears. "Grazie, Jose," they shouted as he drove away. "We love you. Thanks for everything." In Serie A, Mourinho's points-per-game ratio was the lowest of any Roma coach with 50 games or more at the club. But while last season's Europa League final is remembered more for Mourinho's tirade against Anthony Taylor, Roma were just a penalty kick away from winning back-to-back European trophies and qualifying for the Champions League for the first time in 5 years. "We'll always have Tirana," a fan called after Mourinho, referencing where Roma won the Europa Conference League, as he left in January. Always. When Roma won that trophy in 2022, it was the first European competition won by an Italian team since Mourinho's Inter captured the Champions League in 2010. It helps to explain Mourinho's popularity among Roma supporters and the cult of personality he has built in Rome, a city where loyalty matters. Over the winter, he repeatedly went public with his willingness to commit to Roma and stay at the club for longer than he has any other during his career. He has spoken, too, of a vast offer from Saudi Arabia and the opportunity to manage the Portuguese national team, both chances which he rejected to remain at the Stadio Olimpico. An offer to rejoin the elite at Real Madrid or Paris Saint-Germain never materialized, though, and the affection shown to him by Roma fans genuinely mattered in his decision-making. That affection was expected to protect him, even after the latest bad result in a disappointing season, a 3-1 defeat to AC Milan in the middle of January. But it did not. Just as Dan and Ryan Friedkin, the club's owners, caught everyone out with their appointment of Mourinho 2.5 years ago, so they took Italian football by surprise by sacking the Portuguese. Mourinho's contract had been due to expire at the end of the 2023-24 season anyway, but he had repeatedly signaled his desire to hold talks with Dan and Ryan Friedkin, Roma's American owners, about an extension. He got his meeting, but it was unscheduled and unexpected. The Friedkins arrived and after a meeting lasting 25 minutes, told Mourinho to leave immediately. The decision to get rid of him is a courageous one by the Friedkins. Unsurprisingly, it has brought a response. Friedkin leave. Leaflets have been printed and scattered around. As Leandro Paredes and Paulo Dybala left training this afternoon, fans stopped them to say, "This is on you now." The reasons behind his departure are nuanced. On January 1st, Italy's government abolished a tax break used by Serie A clubs to attract better coaches and players. It meant that, even if Roma were doing well, the prospect of renewing Mourinho became more expensive overnight. He is already the highest-paid coach in the league. The Friedkins indulged him in his first summer with a $113 million, 123 meters, net spend. It contributed to UEFA issuing Roma with the strictest of financial fair play settlement agreements. Since then, Roma's general manager Tiago Pinto, who will leave the club in February, had to sell more than spend to keep the club compliant. But high-profile players have continued to arrive. Mourinho, however, has argued Roma were only able to sign players of such caliber because they had lost their way. The Chabis, out of contract, Dybala, Houssem Aouar, and Evan Ndicka, the injury-prone, Renato Sanchez, the marginalized, Lukaku, and the relegated, Diego Llorente and Rasmus Christensen. Nevertheless, while the spending has declined, Mourinho has regularly pointed out that only Frosinone and Verona spent less in gross terms in the summer 2023 transfer window. The wage bill has climbed, becoming the third most expensive in Italy after Juventus and Inter. But Roma are 9th in the league, having their worst season in more than 20 years. It has become embarrassing for the Friedkins. At a time in Serie A, a history when 4 different teams have won the league in 4 years, the owners shouldn't only be disappointed with Mourinho's failure to qualify for the Champions League. They should be asking why their investment hasn't produced a title challenge. And while the Friedkins hired Mourinho in the hope he would make this team more competitive against the top sides, but his record of 4 wins in 28, the latest against 9-man Napoli, is pitiful. His disciplinary issues have also not been helpful. Mourinho watched his last game as coach from the stands. It was the 16th Roma game he had missed because of a touchline ban, the equivalent of almost half a league season. His antics and those of his coaching staff have been tiresome. At the beginning of the 2024 winter transfer window, belated signs of pushback had started to show. A move for Leonardo Bonucci, the sort of win-now player Mourinho likes, was vetoed in favor of the loan of Dean Huijsen, a teenager from Juventus. It was all Roma could afford with a budget of €1.8 million for January, and while Mourinho welcomed the signing, the end of the club's pursuit of Bonucci signaled a shift in strategy. Injuries have been a problem. Tammy Abraham has not played at all this season because of an ACL injury. Chris Smalling has not featured since September 2023. Out of contract, Dybala, Houssem Aouar, and Evan Ndika. The injury-prone, Renato Sanchez. The marginalized, Lukaku, and the relegated, Diego Llorente and Rasmus Christensen. Nevertheless, while the spending has declined, Mourinho has regularly pointed out that only Frosinone and Verona spent less in gross terms in the summer 2023 transfer window. The wage bill has climbed, becoming the 3rd most expensive in Italy after Juventus and Inter. But Roma are 9th in the league, having their worst season in more than 20 years. It has become embarrassing for the Friedkins. At a time in Serie A, a history when 4 different teams have won the league in 4 years, the owners shouldn't only be disappointed with Mourinho's failure to qualify for the Champions League. They should be asking why their investment hasn't produced a title challenge. And while the Friedkins hired Mourinho in the hope he would make this team more competitive against the top sides, but his record of 4 wins in 28, the latest against 9-man Napoli, is pitiful. His disciplinary issues have also not been helpful. Mourinho watched his last game as coach from the stands. It was the 16th Roma game he had missed because of a touchline ban, the equivalent of almost half a league season. His antics and those of his coaching staff have been tiresome. At the beginning of the 2024 winter transfer window, belated signs of pushback had started to show. A move for Leonardo Bonucci, the sort of win-now player Mourinho likes, was vetoed in favor of the loan of Dean Huijsen, a teenager from Juventus. It was all Roma could afford with a budget of €1.8 million for January, and while Mourinho welcomed the signing, the end of the club's pursuit of Bonucci signaled a shift in strategy. Injuries have been a problem. Tammy Abraham has not played at all this season because of an ACL injury. Chris Smalling has not featured since September 2023. Thanks for following the video. Don't forget to like and follow me to publish more.